But Chad Renal is alongside me, and here's something I didn't expect. Tony Kanaan, an Indy 500 winner and champion of the past, now deputy head of McLaren, racing a Trans Am car. That's not something I would have expected this weekend.
I only heard about it at the Trans Am drivers meeting at 1:30, and I was surprised as well. Given some past pro drivers that Jeff O'Neill's allowed in there, it was kind of surprising. But Tony at the drivers meeting was super nice and was telling everybody how he was going to take care of Jeff's cars, take care of everybody else's cars, and I'm sure he'll be very fast and very safe.
Yeah, and I think it's somewhat apropos in many ways. We recently lost Parnelli, and so therefore I think really all this year we are celebrating the life and times of one of the greats, if not one of the best drivers that America has ever produced. Would you agree? I
would absolutely agree. That car that Tony's in is the first Bud Moore Boss that was ever driven in competition. It was driven by Parnelli Jones at the Citrus 250 in Florida at Daytona, and he's actually leading the race until a transmission problem. So it's kind of neat that he's in a car that was the first Bud Moore Boss that was ever driven by Parnelli Jones.
And just put that in if you like, in context, because the Bud Moore combination, Parnelli Jones, the way they were, it was almost like two great things collided at the same time.
Yeah,
Bud Moore was a NASCAR guy.
Yeah, and he was like perfect for Parnelli because they're both extremely professional, but they're also just no nonsense, get it done, whatever they had to do. And everybody that worked with Parnelli Jones, even though he was vicious at actually getting to the front and winning races, everybody says that he was always the most consummate professional, always on time, always did exactly what the engineers asked him in testing, what they were looking for, what they wanted to get out of him. He was just fantastic.
And Chad, you'll put me or you'll correct me, but I'm not far off saying that the cars that you're about to see in action here pretty much would probably all have raced here at Sonoma in period, i.e. during 1970, 71, or 69, that period from 66 to 72, all of these cars would have raced in the Trans Am series, and that is just an astounding feat. I mean, we've got great collections of cars, but they've all come from different race categories, and they raced in different countries. But all of these cars all raced here at Sonoma and Laguna and wherever else, Watkins Glen, you name it, Lime Rock. But that is astounding, isn't it?
It is really neat. And what's neat is the first year of a Trans Am at Sears Point was 1969.
Yeah.
Jeff O'Neill's got a 69 Bud Moore Boss, and that was one of the reasons why he wanted it. When he was going to start this event in 2019, he wanted that car. It was really neat.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier in the day, back in 1970, there would have been 70,000 people to witness a Sunday afternoon Trans Am race, and that included the B sedans as well and C sedans. So a lot of racing and a lot of following, and the whole thing was, with the manufacturers behind it, race on Sunday, buy on Monday. It was basically a marketing tool. Hence the money, hence the big names, hence the Parnelli Joneses, hence the Dan Gurneys. They all raced in this series, and while Formula One and IndyCar were all very, very enticing, Trans Am, even though they were stock-based cars, really attracted the Vic Elfords, the many greats that of all, Mark Donohue, you name them. We could go on for an hour talking about who's driven in Trans Am, and now Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, it's really good. The car that's on poles is 69. Also, they were here at that first Trans Am as well. The car that's back there in about 8th, that Jeff Kaiser's driving, was run by a local guy here, Bill Meyer at Sears Point. And there's a whole bunch of local folks that have tried to get these cars and restore them as perfect as they were in the day, and maybe even a little bit better, but at least using all the mechanical components that were used in the day.
Now, every historic series and group has its own foibles and problems that you're dealing with. When it comes to historic Trans Am, what's the tricky part in terms of preparation for these cars, do you think?
The tricky part is people want to make them, let's say, faster, better, more reliable, but the problem is we want to keep them as they were. So unfortunately, that makes it really hard for people like John Hildebrand in the Ghost. He's got a Pontiac that's has an inch cut out of the deck of a standard 400, and it's really hard to find those parts, and he has to do a lot of work, and he's constantly looking after that motor to try to make it last for a season or two or less, honestly.
And John Hildebrand, another IndyCar driver.
Yeah, well, his dad. Yeah, he's
dad.
the dad of JR, yeah. And JR was doing fantastic out in that NASCAR.
Yeah, John Hildebrand, a regular to this scene. I watched him practice yesterday, looking pretty impressive. And here we go, guys, muscle cars. Just squint your eyes, get back in black and white, and you can be there, live.
Yeah, it's awesome. 269s on the front row.
So this is the Group 9, 66 to 72, the golden era of muscle car racing in the USA. It continues today. They're racing currently at VIR, but we've got the best of the lot here as we take a look at the historics going up the hill for the first time. Beautiful sand.
They're going to keep it together without passing each other before turn 4, but then it's all...
The gloves are off.
Yeah, it's all about trying to win.
Well, the level of racing drivers in this series is high too. Some names you may not be familiar with. Obviously, we all know who Tony Kanaan is. John Hildebrand likewise, but there may not be household names, but they are very, very good in Trans Am historic cars, aren't they? And they do a regular season.
Yeah, Patrick Byrne out in the front is a fantastic driver. Ken Adams has been doing this for a long time, and he's outstanding. Scott Joy, Mike Joy's son, is in third. So a lot of good names.
Yeah, Scott Joy's done a lot of racing, and of course Mike does a little bit of historic Trans Am when he gets the chance.
And there's John in fifth, right behind Mike. Mike just got this car, and this is its first real weekend. He's only tested it once, lost the brakes, so this is his first full
48.
weekend. Yeah, the 48. Mike Bachoco.
Ah, yeah. He was giving me a hard time for pronouncing his name, so you tell me how to pronounce it.
I probably just butchered it. I probably just butchered it as well.
Bocchiocho. He'll tell me. Anyway, he's going good in the 48. He's currently in fourth position. So, Chad, how did you get involved in all of this?
Oh, gosh. My dad started bringing me to races in 1976 to road racing, and I saw Al Holbert and a Decon Monza, and that's what set the hook on those. And then, reading The Unfair Advantage when I was in middle school, I got into Trans Am through Mark Donahue, and my uncle came to live with us when he was driving a 69 Z28 as his car, and I was reading Unfair Advantage at the same time. It's kind of just the hook was set, and I got my own car in 97 or 98, restored it, and been running it since 99. One of the 69 Camaros that runs in this.
Well, look out for the 45, the maroon, competed on the East Coast. That's a Richard Renthlow and Paul Petty car. That's the 302 Mustang of 1969. I just saw that go through shot, so keep an eye out for that. But we've got some storied cars out here, and cars that have been driven by the very best. That Sunoco Camaro always takes my eye. I think it won, what, 11?
10 of 13
10
races.
of 13 races.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
and that can't be repeated very often.
No.
I know what Red Bull are doing in Formula One is pretty impressive over the last couple of years, but to do that in Trans Am, very, very impressive.
Yeah, I think the last person that got close was Tommy Kendall.
Yeah. And, of course, like I mentioned, Trans Am, if you're not familiar with the history, it became almost an instant success. Started off in 1966. And still going today, by the way. But it really got the imagination when two things happened. One, obviously they're stock cars, and so they were the cars that people recognized because they were driving them on the streets themselves. But then the manufacturers realized the marketing tool that was, and, you know, if Pontiac were going to do it, then, well, of course, Ford wants to do it. And if Ford are going to do it, well, Chevrolet want to do it, and so therefore it suddenly got big backing. That brought sponsorship, that brought money, and that brought great drivers. And then to come out on a Sunday afternoon here at Sonoma and see some of the best drivers in the world muscle these cars around, literally, it's the perfect weekend, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. And like you say, muscle is the right word. There's very few cars out there that have power steering. That big that big gray Ghost there, right, has no power steering, and John is just muscling that thing. It's definitely the heaviest car out there.
Why Gray Ghost?
I think they just named it that because of there was lore of that the TV show that even mentioned the Gray Ghost, and Herb Adams showed up with that thing, and it was kind of ratty silver Tempest that they had converted to kind of look like a GTO, and Herb Adams was a fantastic GM engineer and made the thing really work well. And there's even, in one of its first races in '71, the only car that was ahead of it during this rain incident was Mark Donohue. So it was in second place, and everybody just went wild for it.
Mark Donohue, of course, one of the greats as well of Trans Am and multiple other series as well. Incidentally, you'll see the board that says Jeffrey O'Neill. Well, that's actually Tony Kanaan at the wheel. Jeffrey was supposed to drive it. He's currently in 8th position. We'll see if he can make his way through.
I think he's picked up 5 spots already.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see when they cross the line again. I'm keeping a watchful eye on the times. Ken Adams, the leader at the moment, just done his last lap on the second lap was a 1:53.5. So he's definitely on the pace. So I'll keep an eye on what...
Yeah, I think he's in 6th now. Honestly, he just passed 2 more people, Kanaan.
I laughed at, I'm sure you heard him, but when Taylor was talking to him, he said, I wish he'd have qualified it better for me.
I know, I like that too. That was great. Yeah, he's in 6th now, I think. He's passed Richard in the Posey Challenger.
There's Richard Goldsmith in the 77 in 6th place at the moment. In that factory Dodge Challenger from 1970.
Yeah, that's a Sam Posey car.
Yes.
The only one that remains.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Finished 4th in the season that year. Sam Posey at the wheel. And, of course, Sam Posey, I forgot to mention him as one of the greats, of course, of Trans Am over the years.
Yeah, just a fantastic ambassador of racing them, just such a well-spoken, well-rounded human being.
Yeah.
And to have him be such a good race car driver is just a value to all of us that enjoy racing.
Now, just behind that car is the red 28 Ford Mustang Boss 302 from '69, nicknamed the Metuchen Special. The Metuchen Special?
Yeah, that's the area of Michigan, I think.
That's right, yeah. I like it.
Yeah. The Tasca Ford was the sponsor, and the person that got that was a body delivered off of the line that had no sound deadener and all this kind of stuff, and it even got a special tag in the driver's door jamb. And Brian did a really nice, it was very original, but he did a very nice sympathetically restoring everything but keeping it exactly as it is. It's a good car with a really good motor. Tony Otto Jr. builds that motor, as he builds that Challenger motor as well, that we support.
How long does it take to prepare these cars for a race weekend like this?
Well, it takes, even if it had a really good weekend, you're probably looking at 5 hours just to, double check everything.
Yeah.
And then if you
and
have,
that's if there's no problem.
That's if you have no problems. If you have more problems, then whatever. And then it seems like the really consistent drivers like Richard Goldsmith in that green car, we have to do a little bit less because he's so, the transmission, he can, even though we look at it regularly, he can go 5 years without us having to touch that transmission.
Really?
Yeah, he's really
That's pretty
good.
impressive.
He's just such a good driver.
That 83 on the inside was a car built and raced by Al Costner at Dayton, Ohio, and entered 7 Trans Am races in period.
Yeah, Kevin's a good mechanic. He has his own business, building and supporting a bunch of street cars and race cars, and he's only had that car for maybe 2 or 3 years, but he's done a really good job and gotten it faster and faster. Kevin
Sittner, that is, at the wheel of that one. Now, how's Tony getting on? Yeah, pretty good. He was in 6th. I think he might improve. I'll take my look at my timing, see how's he getting on. Yes, he just did a 53.8, so he's on the pace as the rest of the drivers in front of him. Scott Joy, likewise, Patrick Byrne. So they're all dipping into the 53s, the fast guys, and Tony is one of those guys.
Well, Patrick's out in the speedy dry. That'll be fun to clean up.
Well, he's getting into a bit of traffic now. And Joy right behind him in second place also getting through.
Mike Pachoco got into second now.
Yeah. They sound so good.
What's really neat is how many really good friends are out there. So Mike Pachoco and Ken Adams are really good friends. They even live, I think they're within 10 minutes of each other. So it's neat how many really good friends are out there. I mean, we're all friends.
Yeah.
But like really like lifelong friends are out there racing each other.
So John Hildebrand making a move up the inside in the Grey Ghost.
I went out to Michigan to look at that car about 2 years before John bought it because I wanted it. I wanted to own it myself. I just love that car. It's just such a neat car, and it was so original. And John and his guys, Randy Peterson, did such a good job preserving all the originality of it too.
I think that, to me, is what stands out about historic racing, is the attention to detail that people want to do, let alone what the rules say. They want it to be perfect. They want to be able to say, yep, it's as it was in period, or as darn close to it as possible.
Yeah, whenever somebody asks me what should I do, how do I know what to do to prepare it, that's John Fiber. This is his first weekend he's ever driven this car. His son Josh normally driving it, and he's just wicked fast. And not to say that John isn't wicked fast too. He's just learning it. We tried to see if he'd want to do the test day. He's like, no, I'm okay. But when he sat in it, he was trying to heel and toe it, and he couldn't get his feet in the right places. And he came into the pit and talking to me, and he's like, I can't heel toe, I can't shift. I'm like, don't heel toe, just use the clutch.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that solved that problem.
Yeah, that's what we're solving.
So
somebody's gone off. Is that the Grey Ghost?
Oh, you're right. Oh, my goodness.
Got a feeling it might be. Ooh.
It looks silverish.
Yeah. Well, if it isn't, it's... yeah, maybe, still may be. Well, we'll see. We'll see when we come around again. But he was in third place. Now the 83 giving signals that says, pass me on the inside. And that's exactly what the 77 Goldsmith will do, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a problem. He had a clutch problem at Monterey. I hope he's okay.
Ferrin also getting past as well. And Myers just behind. So Burns still leading, but it's close. And we've had one car go off. I think he's far off enough track where he might be out of harm's way.
Yeah, let's hope that's
the case.
Yeah, I think you're right, though, because they're moving Hildebrand down the...
Yeah. Into turn 11. Tricky corner this, but plenty of grip out there. We sent all the drifters out there, put loads of rubber down for you.
Hopefully compatible rubber.
Yeah, that's the problem. You never know what the rubber is, do you? It's not always the way, is it? Doesn't always create grip. Different types of rubber do different types of things. Cross the line they come again. And yes, it was Hildebrand then who went off, sadly. And he was going good up until then. But that's motor racing, folks.
So we got Patrick and Mike Pachoco, Ken Adams, his buddy. Scott Joy just behind him. 69-70, 69-70 as far as the years of cars.
Yeah, I'm stunned at the amount of father-son combos we have in historic racing. It's great. It's great to see. I've had a few of them here in the booth this weekend. Dave Hagen and Tyler, his son, coming in. And as you say, the Joys do just that when Mike's not on the mic, as it were.
Yep, Richard
Still
Gold.
doing NASCAR, of course.
Yeah, I think he's at Barrett-Jackson this weekend, why he couldn't do this.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think Richard Goldsmith's son, Daniel, is normally at this event, but he's off camping this weekend, so. John and Josh Fiber, so like you say, a bunch of fathers and sons.
Now, we've also got that 72 Javelin out there that we've been looking at, the number 2, built by Penske Racing. And as a factory effort in 1970, Mark Donohue and Peter Revson. Doesn't get any better as a combination of drivers. And then you add the Penske brilliance to it, and you can see why it was pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, those cars are just fantastic. We support the 71 Penske Javelin that Mark Donohue won the 70 championship with, and like the attention to detail and the craftsmanship on the redesign of the front suspension is just fantastic. It just sounds fantastic. Everything about it is amazing. It makes these other cars, it makes my car feel like a truck when you drive it. I mean, the Penske Javelin just feels like a Cadillac compared to my truck Camaro.
Now, given you get up close and personal, and maybe you can or can't answer this, but I know that the typical motor racing jiggery pokery that went on behind the scenes in the heyday of the period of the 60s and early 70s, dipping these cars in acid to make them lighter, pulling everything off, trying to get as light as you possibly can. Now you've pulled them apart now and again. Did you find any other tricks that perhaps weren't as well known?
Well, for one thing, the 69 Penske Camaro, when it came to us, it had the wrong rear end in it, but it came with the original rear end. And when I'm not that smart, but every once in a while I do something right, and
look at this.
Yeah, Patrick using the kitty dry just to make it interesting, I guess. When we took it apart, I used palm olive and just cleaned it really lightly, and I found all these original notes on top of the thing. And then when we took it apart, the diff that they had put in it, they had put so many discs in there that the rear end worked just like a locker. It wasn't even a clutch differential anymore. It was just super. And if you read his book, that's what he talks about. He would rather have a spool differential and just fully locked than to have anything like a positive traction.
That's funny. Well, this is a great battle at the front of this one, and it is the maroon of the number 45, Adams, leading the way, but only just. He goes wide here, or takes a wide line and lets the two past. And Patrick Byrne back into the lead.
As Tony Kanaan sneaking up on these guys.
And here comes Tony Kanaan. I look forward to telling my brethren in Trans Am, because I'm usually doing a regular Trans Am, that we've got a new member to the fraternity. Matt Brabham races for CD Racing, and he's here this weekend, and he's actually replacing Chris Dyson, who's currently racing. Just got pole position in TA at VIR today, but Rob Dyson and his son Chris, again, storied history that they have. Another father and son racing combo, as it were. Chris obviously still at the height of his powers, and Matthew Brabham has driven for him many a time, and he's here this weekend driving a few cars and representing.
I think Kanaan just got around Scott Joy.
Well, if he did, he's going to try and get a podium.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
Here he comes. Yep. Good line out of the carousel. Mike's like, I never expected an IndyCar driver to be coming up on me.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say, yeah. That'll be quite a... And he won't know, will he?
In my first
week...
weekend,
no, he might know.
In my first weekend in the car, I didn't expect that to be happening.
Well, you've got to think that Tony knows this place pretty well. He's raced a fair few IndyCar races around here as well.
Yes, yeah, and about 30 seconds a lap faster, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. That's the problem. It's a completely different track when you're in a different car, isn't it? Yeah. It always amazes me when people do different cars in different times on the same day, because your braking points are all different. Everything's different. So, yeah, very hard. Look at this.
Yeah, that's good.
Great racing. Side by side, guys. You can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And Boccaccio's not doing so bad, is he?
Yeah, he's doing good. This is his first weekend. He's doing a great job.
Back goes the 45 of Adams into the lead. 10 laps down.
Do you know if they're going to run 10 or 12 laps?
I don't know, and I'm trying to cring my neck to see if I can. Yeah, it was a white flag, so this is the last lap. So if Tony wants a podium, he's got to move.
Oh boy, here he is. He's in third.
Got to keep moving. Fudge going good, top 6. Joy dropped down to 5th now. And as you say, yes, Tony Kanaan. There's the checkered flag.
Oh, that was already
that was the checkered flag. Okay, we thought it was white flag for a second. We didn't see the podium. We didn't see the tower, and it is the checkered flag. But that must mean that at least
third.
Yeah, third for Tony Kanaan in his first Trans Am effort.
Third from 13th.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
Well, O'Neill could be pleased with that.
I don't even think he sat in that car before this.
No, he has not. There's no way. And he was just out in
that Lotus, yeah.
So great stuff. But that's the beauty of it. They've been throwing curveballs at me all day. It's like, who's in that car? I have no idea. They haven't told me. Why are these guys on track? I don't know. But you know what? I described it earlier. It's a bit like playing in a jazz band. You know, you never know. We're riffing. We're having some fun. We're enjoying the day, and who knows what's next and what's going to happen. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of names being made as these wonderful historic cars are being driven by some pretty mighty and high and mighty car drivers of past and present. Tony being both, I suppose, because he's still pretty handy as him. But well done to Ken Adams. Good run.
Yeah, Patrick, Ken, Mike, Bachoco, Tony Kanaan, of course. Scott, Joy, gosh, they all did great.
And of course, like we said, they all get 2 runs, so they'll have another race tomorrow. Another full day of Velocity. So if you pricked your interest and you want to join us on the live stream tomorrow, feel free. We have 9 groups in all, including historic NASCAR. And we've also got, obviously, the historic Trans Am. Got some great groups of 50s and 60s cars. I'm sure you've been watching that.
I
love the way they've grouped them up.
I love it, yeah. Then those 50s groups are fantastic because you got these big V8 cars, you got these smaller cars, but the balance of performance, basically, because of the lighter cars do so well in the corners and the V8 cars do so well in the straights. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, Chad Renault, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us. You're very welcome tomorrow as well. Go get your fettling done, because I know you've got to look after these cars, so I'll let you go.
All
but
right.
Thanks for coming in.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
That concludes our Trans Am historic first race of the weekend. And just to confirm, Ken Adams winning the race. Fastest lap going to Jeffrey O'Neill, but sadly he can't claim it, although he will at the bar tonight, I'm sure. A 152.3 by the great, mighty Tony Kanaan of Brazil, former Indy 500 winner, and now turning his hand, just like that, to a little bit of Trans Am. We've got Jenson Button here, we've got Scott Speed here, we've got some great names, but more importantly, the cars are the stars of this event. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more from Sonoma after this.